Coming up today on episode 4 of the Waine Train here at Plymouth Argyle, we take on second place Norwich in the Championship and then top of the Championship Middlesbrough in the third round of the Carabao Cup. But we're doing it without our main man Ben Waine because of Olympic qualifiers. What the Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 4 of the Waine Train here on Sean Does FM with Plymouth Argyle. I hope you are doing well and count today. As I said, 2 big games. First up, we take on Norwich at home in the Championship. Those guys just above us in second on the table, and off the back of that we look to pick up our win from yesterday over Chelsea in the Carabao Cup. But we take on Middlesbrough, the only team to have picked up maximum points so far in the Championship. So if you're looking forward to those 2 games coming up in today's episode, despite the fact there'll be no Ben Waine, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But we played 2 games off the back of yesterday's episode, that second round tie in the Carabao Cup, where we did take on Chelsea, and also that clash against Blackburn in the Championship. If you missed that episode, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. We took on 2 teams away from home in the bottom half of the table, and first up, it was Preston. This was the game we were well and truly on the front foot, but it took us until the last 5 minutes to actually score a goal off Bickage dropping our tempo, because it did just look like we were rushing things a little bit. We put a ball far post there, and Bundu playing at left wing in this game, I believe he actually came on off of the bench. Indeed he did. For Callum Wright, he grabs his first goal for the club, and a big one as well, to make sure that we did pick up all 3 points. As you can see, definitely the better team in that game, but thankfully we grab a late goal to make sure we do go back to home park with all 3 points. But off the back of that, we also had to go away this time to take on Bristol City. And honestly, I thought we had this game wrapped up at the 10-minute mark, because only 1 minute into this one we did open the scoring. Mumba there finds Randall in lots of space, squares that one for Houghton. Really nice finish, that one into the top left corner, so an early 1-0 lead. And then just shy of the 10-minute mark, the Waine Train did get on the scoreboard. Poor pass there from one of the Bristol players. It does find Randall. He slots through Waine with a first-time finish on his left foot, so a nice early 2-0 lead there. Unfortunately, off the back of that, good set piece there from Bristol City, and Sykes does get that one past Hazard, albeit only 1 minute later we do get back to a 2-goal lead right there. Rather fortunate to get that ball back off the back of a loose touch from a Bristol defender, but good finish there to curve that one inside the far post. Unfortunately, 10 minutes later, Bristol City grabbed another goal back to make it 3-2. Good finish there from Vayman off that ball from Sykes. Had a good game in this one with that goal and that assist, and then we gave away a penalty with 20 minutes left, and they did put that one away that time through Wales. So it's a 3-3 draw. To be fair, stats-wise, I think we have to take that one, because as you can see, Bristol City were definitely the better team, but off the back of having a 2-0 and 3-1 lead, that is one of the more frustrating results that we have had so far here at Plymouth Argyle. So a little bit frustrating there to drop points against Bristol City, especially when you consider that they are all the way down in 19th, and before that we're in quite a poor run of form. Also, Preston just got over those guys who are just below them on the table, and it does mean, despite the fact that we are still unbeaten this season, we have dropped down ever so slightly off the back of that most recent draw. These days in 4th spot, just 1 point behind both Norwich and Swansea. Middlesbrough, early stages of the season, they look like their team to beat here in the Championship, but hopefully we can give them something to think about in that second game of today's episode, albeit there's a cup game and things are quite busy in the Championship around that, so maybe a chance for you guys to see some of our rotation players in action in that third round tie. But before we get stuck into the first game of today's episode, where we do take on Norwich, unfortunately, the main man of the save, the player who it's named after, he is unavailable because of Olympic qualifying duty. I did not think this would be an issue here with someone like Ben Waine, but of course he is still 22 years old, so he is off at Olympic qualifying because, of course, Oceania, they always do qualifying tournaments not during international breaks. They did it a couple of years ago before the last World Cup, the senior All Whites team. I did think Ben Waine would be playing more for that team, not the under-23s. So yeah, no Ben Waine today, and it's a shame as well, because so far this season he has been in really good touch. 7 games, 6 goals, and 2 assists, 1 player of the match, and a 7.47 average rating. So thankfully he is doing the job that we hoped he would. but we don't have him for today's episode and probably not for a little while off the back of that as well, because off the back of our next little run of games there is an international break. I imagine this qualifying tournament he is taking part in might extend to the start of that next international break, so I think we might actually be missing Ben Waine here for a couple of weeks at Plymouth Argyle. Thankfully, Ryan Hardy, not a bad replacement at all, to be fair for most people. He would probably be the starting striker here at Plymouth Argyle. It does mean they would have to jumble our bench up just a little bit. Sabundu these days is our backup striker, our new signing from Anderlecht. He can play there, so that's what he'll be doing, while Ben Waine is on Olympic qualifying duty. As I said, cheers OFC for that. Brilliant timing. And that does mean that Mikel Miller will make his way back onto the bench as the left wing backup in behind Callum Wright. So that's what we've got to deal with in terms of today's episode. It's not quite the Waine Train, but hopefully we can do fine without him. Otherwise, I might have to belt out the Delta Goodrum. Could be losing without him here. That should not be ideal. It might just be a case of just seeing how much we are going to miss the Waine Train in today's episode if he does get injured in the future. But first up, big game in the championship. We take on David Bugner's Norwich. They are up in second on that championship table. Coming to this one off the back of some pretty good form to start the season. Just one loss in the championship. The first game of the season they somehow suffered defeat at home to Hull City, and they also lost to Wolves in the EFL Cup, albeit that's not a bad result at all against the team who are from the Premier League. But off the back of that, they've been in very good touch. They've won their last 4 games in the championship and do have a decent player I'm quite familiar with here in Adam Ida. I had him in stream save at Montpellier on FM23. Hopefully he doesn't prove too good, but no doubt he will be quite lethal in a division like the championship. At Norwich, this will be an interesting game, but it is at home, so hopefully we can make the most of that home field advantage and might find a way to sneak ourselves back up into one of those automatic promotion spots to go up to the Premier League potentially, albeit still a long way to go this season. And in terms of our team for the first game of today's episode, obviously Hardy up front with no Ben Waine. We've run through that, but also Finn Azar's overlooked Kundal on the bench because he's on a heavy workload. And to be fair, Azar's in a bit better form at the moment. Also, Dan Scarr is in for Lewis Gibson, also on a heavy workload. And of course, he can get quite injury prone when he is on that workload. So a couple of changes to our usual first choice 11 here at Plymouth Argyle. Also, not too far away, I believe, from getting Cooper back in goal. So that should be a big boost for us in a couple of episodes' time. Might not be in time for the next episode that we do come back for tomorrow. Hopefully we might get some Ben Waine in that one, but not too far away from actually being at full strength for at Plymouth Argyle in terms of the injuries that we were carrying into the start of the season. But there's our lineup, those 3 changes included. And here are Norwich. They've got some good players there, the likes of Angus Gunn in goal, and also going forward Adam Ida. Of course, it's a pretty good team. Should be better than our one. Of course, they're very much a yo-yo team up in the Premier League between that and the championship. They're there for a good time, not a long time, and hopefully we can do a job against them here in this home match and try and get ourselves above them on that championship table. We're in our traditional home green with the gold trim, and Norwich are in the canary yellow. And in 5 minutes into this one so far, not a lot doing, but it's going to be interesting to see here how we do go without the Waine Train. But to be fair, Hardy, a pretty able backup. Now, Dan Scarr in the team for this one. Of course, he's got that great jumping reach. And only 6 minutes into this game, we score from a corner maybe. Need to be playing him more and maybe over someone else in this lineup. But our other centre-backs have a bit more potential than Scarr does, but he's such a good threat in the air and it pays off early there. We take a 1-0 lead just shy of the 10-minute mark. So a brilliant start here against the Norwich team, who I thought would cause us a few troubles in this game based on their recent form. And shortly off the back of their opening goal coming up to the 15-minute mark, a thrown in our favour. Still doing long throws, not too sure if that's something that we should change, but unfortunately, off the back of keeping the ball from that long throw, a loose touch there, and we do give it away, albeit poor pass there from Forshaw, and Houghton plays that one forward to right. Now Azar's nice pass there for Whitaker, who is in behind the goalkeeper, and Angus Gunn gets a good touch on it, but it still finds its way into the back of net. It's a brilliant start here for us at Plymouth Argyle in this big clash between 2 teams up near the top of the championship. We take a 2-0 lead early, albeit this is giving me flashbacks from that Bristol City game that we did play before this one in today's episode. Hopefully this game does not go like that, but brilliant start. Hopefully this time we can hold on and pick up 3 points. Callum right there with the assist. That's a brilliant start, 2-0 up already. And if we can hold on to this result, that would mean we would go up to second, depending on how Swansea get on in their game. But now McLean off a throw will rocket that one into the top right corner. Kenny McLean on a yellow card. Hopefully he might pick one more up because that was a stunning goal. They worked that one nicely off a throw-in. And to be fair, don't know if we can blame anyone too much for that one. He just jogs inside a little bit gets loosened off a little bit there, but to be fair, it is a wonderful strike. Nothing Hazard can do, and our defenders sagged off him a little bit, but it's a wonderful strike. So Norwich are right back in this one now at 2-1. And as I said before, definitely giving me vibes of that previous game that we did play against Bristol City. Also, Swansea have grabbed a goal, so it does mean they are now second on that live ladder in the championship, but hopefully we can hold on for 3 points here and jump above Norwich, and we get the ball off the back of that attempted long throw. Mumba plays that one forward to Callum Wright. Angus Gunn gives him too much space there at his near post. Callum Wright having a brilliant start to this game, got the assist with the previous goal, and now puts that one away, and thankfully our 2-goal cushion has been restored. As I've said a few times already, very much vibes from that Bristol City game. We did something very similar in that one as well, but hopefully with this one being at home, we can hold on and pick up all 3 points. But we're certainly a high goal scoring team here at Plymouth Argyle, top in the championship. Our defence though can be just a little bit leaky, as you saw with that Bristol City result in conceding 3 goals, but that is a nice reply for us there. We get our 2-goal cushion back, and shortly off the back of that, we are back on the attack. Houghton has the ball off the back of a long throw, but unfortunately poor pass, and the goal scorer for Norwich and McLean does get on the end of that one. He's back in position here, albeit deep inside of his own half. Somehow we sandwich him there, but don't quite win the ball, and Norwich, now they make their way into our half. Adam Ida wins that ball, and now lots of space for Fastnacht down that right-hand side. They play this one into the mixer. It finds its way to Kenny McLean. He picks up a double. I think we might tightly mark him shortly because he's giving us far too many issues in this game so far. 3-2, about 13 minutes shy of half-time, and I swear this is deja vu from that Bristol City game. This time we try and mark him a little bit tighter, but still, he gets that one past Hazard into that bottom left corner. Off the back of that, I think we'll just adjust some opposition instructions here and make sure that we are tightly marking McLean. It says to go in hard on him. I think tightly marking him might be a better idea. Also, just adjust the other instructions that our assistant manager does recommend. Off the back of doing that, there is a highlight here, albeit not a very long one and not a lot going on. Morgan Whittaker with the ball. It gets taken off him and does go into touch, but shortly off the back of that, a free kick here to Gabriel Sara for Norwich, but thankfully not too much build up, which usually means it's not going to be a goal, and thankfully that one just goes over the top left corner, unlike some that we have seen from Morgan Whittaker so far this season. They're telling us to always press McLean. Hopefully the tight marking might do the job, but with a few minutes left in the first half, a free kick for Whittaker. This time looks for someone inside the box instead of taking on the shot himself, but Houghton on the end of that one will rocket it past Angus Gunn yet again at his near post. He will pick up his 2nd goal of the season off the back of that stunner that he did score in that Bristol City game, and that makes it 4-2, and hopefully now that's enough of a cushion for us to make sure we pick up all 3 points, albeit still a long way to go. But this game is full of goals. To be fair, that shot does take a pretty big deflection. I think that might have actually been off of Adam Ida. Might also press McLean while that prompt has come up, but thankfully, despite the fact that we've conceded 2 goals to the dangerous McLean from Norwich, we have scored 4. Danskar got us off to a good start, and then Whittaker, Wright and Houghton also get on the score sheet, and we're going into the sheds with a 4-2 lead. It's pretty flattering based on the stats, but we definitely take it off the back of that previous result against Bristol City. We'll take off Randall on that yellow card for Matt Butcher, but apart from that, everyone else out there is doing a pretty good job, albeit we might take off Kessler Hayden on a 6.6 because he's down to a little bit of a deep yellow card as well. So I think we'll bring on Edwards in his place as well. So a couple of changes there at halftime to hopefully help us hold on here and pick up 3 points, unlike we did in that previous game. We did take on Bristol City, but this would be a very good result and get us above Norwich on that championship table, and hopefully a little bit closer to getting back in to one of those automatic promotion spots which we were in prior to that last start draw. But coming up to the 10-minute mark of the second half, and the first highlight, Butcher will take this free kick, finds Whittaker at the far post, but unfortunately that one never really threatening the goal. Angus Gunn can let that one go by safely, and shortly off the back of that, we are back down the right end here, trying a long throw, and Scar has that ball on the edge of the box with his feet. Ideally, he'd be trying to head that one home, but back in position, he picks out Whittaker just inside the box. Nice little back flick there to Edwards off of the bench. Houghton back to Butcher, plays that one over the top nicely for Callum Wright. It finds its way into the back of the net, but we don't even get the goal prompt because he is clearly offside, so it does stay at 4-2. We don't get shown the offside. Instead, we get shown goal line technology for a goal that is not going to be counted, which is interesting. But coming up to the hour mark, we'll just check here on some player fitness. And I think we'll take off Helton. He's also on a bit of a deep yellow heart, one of our goal scorers for Lewis Warrington. And also we'll take off Morgan Whittaker for Tyreek Wright as well. So we're just going to try and make sure here that some of our players are fresh for that Middlesbrough game, albeit that might be a little bit iffy because there is quite a few championship fixtures coming up the week off the back of that game free inside 7 days. So maybe it's a chance for us to play a bit more of a rotation than we ideally would for that cup game. And with about 20 minutes left in this one, still with that 4-2 lead, we'll just see potentially who we should give some game time to. And it might actually be Macaulay Gillespie who we give some game time to, but we'll just wait a couple more minutes and just make sure here that there's not too much time and that Norwich don't grab one more goal back. He might come on with around about 15 minutes left to make sure he does get a rating still coming back from injury, and a chance here potentially for us to make it 5-2. Hardy does get in behind, albeit for some reason takes that one away from goal, and a big chance there for Tyreek Wright off of the bench, but unfortunately just blast that one wide. But it does feel like this is a game that we can hang on and win, and as I said, it might be a good chance for us here to bring on Macaulay Gillespie. So I think we'll take off in his place Julio, one of our first choice centre backs, to just make sure that Gillespie will get a bit more fitness under his belt there. You can see his attributes, and also we might just see if he's better as a ball playing defender or central defender. I think it doesn't make too much difference. Dan Scarr, off the back of that early goal, can stay on the right hand side of defence, but thankfully at the moment looks like we're going to hold on here and pick up 3 big points and keep our unbeaten start to this season going. And a highlight here with 10 minutes left, Edwards can play a nice ball over the top there for Tyreek Wright. Tight angle, but takes on the shot, had a big chance before, but this time puts that one away, and that will definitely be all she wrote. 5-2 with only 10 minutes left, and that is a big result here at home park over a yo-yo club from the Premier League like Norwich. Big result here, and it should mean we jump above them on the championship table. I say should, it will mean we do. Nice ball from Edwards off of the bench, also picking up one of his bench brothers there in Tyreek Wright, and he grabs his first goal of the season, and that makes it 5-2, and this is pretty much all over Red Rover. Thankfully not going to be missing Ben Waine too much for this game. Whether that's the case when we take on Middlesbrough and some teams in the championship off the back of today's episode, we'll wait and see. But now we make our way into 5 minutes of added time. There is a corner here to Norwich, but thankfully they put that one just over the bar, and it looks like we'll hold on and pick up a very comfortable win, pretty flattering in terms of the score sheet compared to the XG, but thankfully we were very efficient with our shots in front of goal. Very good first half, putting 4 past their goalkeeper and Angus Gunn, and then late on Tyreek Wright. Just make sure that we do pick up all 3 points. McLean, very good for them, but thankfully that tight marking and triggering that press that we did do late on in the first half, it does seem to have worked. We kept them pretty quiet in that second half, as you could tell by that XG match story, and it's 3 more points, and we continue our unbeaten start to the season here at Plymouth Argyle. Not quite an automatic promotion spot, but just behind Swansea. And next up, we'll take on Middlesbrough in the Cup. Can we be the first team to beat them this season? So a nice result for us first up in today's episode. As you can see, that does see us back up in third on the championship table. Just a quick look at this. In terms of goals that we're scoring, we are the best team by far in that, but the goals against are a little bit concerning, albeit we're only 3 behind the likes of Middlesbrough and Sunderland, so not doing too bad defensively, but because of that, our goal differential is the best in the league, so we are in quite a strong position early doors, albeit still a long way to go in the championship season, not quite a sixth of the way through the season, so a long way to go, but certainly a good start, hopefully showing we will not be anywhere near the relegation zone here at Plymouth Argyle. But second up today, we switch our attention to the Carabao Cup somewhat, albeit this is quite an interesting tie as we do take on the only team to have picked up maximum points so far in the championship in Middlesbrough. Michael Carrick has got these guys in a very nice run of form. In terms of the Cup, they come into this one having dealt to Bradford City 1-0 in the second round. Before that, they beat Harrogate Town. So far, these guys obviously in very good touch, having not lost a single game. Hopefully, we can be the team that does change that, albeit we are going to this game with a bit of a rotated team, and that is because off the back of this, we do have a busy schedule, and of course the championship, I think, will be our focus for this season, especially if we are in with a shout of getting up to the Premier League. Off the back of this, we've got Hull City, then Millwall in a midweek game, and off the back of that, we take on Swansea, which could actually be a game, even if we don't have Ben Waine back, that we do come back for, with those guys being one of the few teams who are above us on that championship table. So because of that, that big week that we do have coming up, and obviously the big goal for this save is to get up to the Premier League as soon as possible, we are rotating our team for this third round clash with Middlesbrough, albeit they could be doing something quite similar with the position that they also find themselves in on that championship table. Liverpool getting the job done at the moment over Wickham in another third round tie, but it does mean we are rotating very heavily for the second game of today's episode. And there is the proof. It's pretty much a full rotation from that previous game. Just Hazard, Scar and Hardy keep their place in the team, but the rest of them will give a rest to when the opportunity does arise. As I said, quite a busy schedule here at the moment with us still being in this Carabao Cup, so hopefully it will just make sure that we avoid injuries to any of our key players, especially while Waine is away with the under-23s for New Zealand in that Oceania Olympic Qualifying tournament so far. He's got a couple of goals in a few games for those guys, which is good to see, but ideally he'd be doing that for us. Not really too sure if they need Ben Waine or under-23 qualifying through the New Zealand team in an Oceania tournament, but nonetheless, we don't have him here at the moment. Hopefully we can do a decent job here with our backup team. It's pretty much fair to say in this third round tie in the Carabao Cup, and it will also be interesting to see how good this Middlesbrough team is, albeit not too sure how many of their first choice players they are putting out for this one as well. Yet again, we shake hands with the opposition manager and hopefully can do something decent here at the Riverside Stadium, but obviously this is a pretty heavily rotated team. Would not be surprised if there's a little bit of scratchiness here. If this does end up being our first loss of the season, probably the best chance there's going to be for us to drop points this season. Up until now, albeit of course we did get past Chelsea in yesterday's episode, a game that you would have thought we would have got beaten in, but coming up to the 20-minute mark in the first highlight of this game, we are in position trying to make our way out from the back. Warrington will try and find their Miller on that left-hand side, but unfortunately can't quite, and somehow that pass finds his way through him, and now Jones makes his way onto the edge of the box, squares that one nicely, and it comes off of Macaulay Gillespie. He gets a start for this game and unfortunately puts that one just past Hazard in goal, and that does mean that it is 1-0 to Middlesbrough on the 20-minute mark. It's a bit of an unfortunate goal to concede, but unfortunately we just lost position there through Miller, and then they put that one into the mixer. Somehow Gillespie doesn't put that one on the right side of the post, and we go 1-0 down early. To be fair, up until then, stats-wise, weren't doing too bad a job, but 1-0 down early, I think that's only the second time we've found ourselves behind in a game so far this season. So hopefully we can find a way to come back like we have done previously, but this is going to be a bit tougher, especially against an informed team like Middlesbrough. And now Fours, he gets in behind, we give the ball away there, down that right-hand side, but thankfully he is offside. Just saw the camera there jink briefly, which I think is a bit of a giveaway, so thankfully that poor pass there, giving the ball away, does not prove too costly. Now Dan Scar picks up a yellow card. That might mean that he might come off at halftime for someone like Miller, but coming up to the 35-minute mark, and there is a thrown here to Middlesbrough. They look to make it 2-0, and they will. Hayden Hackney with a really nice finish there from that ball from Force off a good throw-in routine, and unfortunately, all this rotation does mean it looks like we might be bowing out of the Carabao Cup and also suffering our first defeat of the season. To be fair, can't really blame our attack so far because it doesn't look like we've been up to too much in highlights, but defensively, just a bit off in this game.
Yeah.
And Joe Edwards picks up a red injury right off the back of that, which is definitely not ideal because right back's an area we don't have a lot of cover, and I say not a lot. That's all our cover, Joe Edwards and Kesler Hayden. So unfortunately, Kesler Hayden won't get too much of a rest in this game. He'll play close to an hour by the time we have injury time kick in, so that's not ideal, going 2-0 down and then suffering an injury. And just before halftime, Middlesbrough will look to put this game to bed. Coburn on the ball. He was the player who would have had the chance to score the first goal if it wasn't done from Gillespie, but thankfully we get that ball back, and now Hardy in for Ben Waine, of course, makes his way forward. We'll square this one for a teammate, and Lewis Warrington coming in for this game. Of course, the player that we had at Cardiff on FMOE last year. He'll score his first goal for the club, and that might just give us a chance to come back into this one, especially if we opt to bring on some of our first choice players in the second half. But thankfully, off the back of going 2-0 down, we do grab one back before halftime. Just nutmegs a man there, does Hardy with that pass, and Warrington puts that one away in the top right corner to make it 2-1. And hopefully that's a scoreline we can take into the sheets. Interesting to actually see there our XG is higher than Middlesbrough. Wasn't expecting that based on the highlights that we have seen. That was a pretty average first half based on what I saw, but stats-wise, actually not playing too bad, especially considering how much rotation we are doing for this game. We'll bring on Gibson in place of Dan Scar on that yellow card, and also both our wingers not doing a very good job to back up, so I think we'll bring on Whitaker in place of Tyreek Wright and also Callum Wright. He can come on for Mikel Millis. So certainly a bit of first team impact here off of the bench for the second half, and hopefully that just makes sure we can find a way potentially back into this game and maybe take this one to penalties, albeit not too sure if that's something that we really want to do. Wouldn't actually probably be the worst idea to let Middlesbrough win this one so that they potentially get a little bit more fixture congestion for the remainder of this year in game before the FA Cup kicks off in 2024. But first highlight here early in the second half of Middlesbrough, they get him behind here, nice pass and fours. He puts that one away. He's had a big hand in that first half performance and rockets that one top right corner. Unfortunately, that goal we got just before halftime pretty much immediately gets cancelled out in the second half. Hackney makes his way forward there. It's Gillespie who just gets caught out by this pass by Coburn. He is coming back from injury and doesn't appear the quickest of centre-back options. Does Gillespie, not having a good game, but unfortunately we brought on Gibson for scarce, no more centre-back cover on the bench. That makes it 3-1. Still 40 minutes left. Hopefully we can find a way yet again to get back into this game. And a poor pass there, it finds Warrington, and it might be a chance for us here to do something on the counter-attack. Callum Wright right on the edge of the box squares this one nicely, and Ryan Hardy, who set up the first goal, will put that one away. So maybe not missing the Waine Train as much as I did fear, albeit as I said at the start of the episode, for most people Ryan Hardy would usually be first choice in this Plymouth Argyle team, but thankfully poor giveaway there. Warrington makes the most of it, gives that one to Callum Wright off of the bench, fizzes that one into the mixer. Somehow the Middlesbrough goalkeeper doesn't get down to claim that. A simple tap-in for Ryan Hardy. Even my grandma could score that, and that makes it 3-2 with still 40 minutes left. So definitely this is back to game being on, and hopefully we can find a way to grab an equaliser inside these last 35 minutes. And what has been a very even game so far stats-wise, as you can see, Middlesbrough now just getting one extra shot off, but XG-wise we are still the team on the front foot. Coming up to the hour mark, just checking here on player fitness, and to be fair, everyone out there doing okay, and of course we do want to leave these players out there probably as long as possible to give some of our first teamers a rest for our upcoming games in the Championship. And off the back of that, there is a highlight that potentially will be in our favour. Kesler Hayden, very rapid at right back. He is squares that one nicely for Morgan Whittaker. He was offside though, was Ryan Hardy, but even then Whittaker absolutely pulls that one well wide of goal. So unfortunately, still down by 3-2. I think it's time for us here to make our last substitution because Butcher, he is on a yellow card, so we'll take him off for Adam Randall with our last sub. And still 20 minutes left. Also, we'll chuck Saxon early onto a wing back on support just to see if that might do a bit for us going forward in the later stages of this game like it has done previously with Bali Mumba. But hopefully we can find a way to still grab an equaliser in the later stages of this game. Still on top based on XG, and actually quite considerably off the back of that chance to Morgan Whittaker, but unfortunately still down by 3-2. Now it's Middlesbrough who somehow keep that ball despite the efforts of Lewis Warrington. Hackney will try and put that one top left corner, but to be fair, that one was kind of skewed off, and it does go well wide of the goal. And with 10 minutes left, it now might be time for us to try something to try and grab an equaliser in this game. So with that in mind, we might actually lower down our tempo, so hopefully we create some slightly better chances, just in case we are rushing things, which can sometimes be a factor. With that higher tempo also, we'll chuck a few more players on some more positive duties. Hopefully that gives us the best chance here to grab an equaliser and make our way now deep into this game. Time for us to go into an attacking mindset. Unfortunately, can't quite change some player roles off the back of that. I think it's now time for us to put Saxon early onto attack, and also Adam Randall on that ball-winning midfielder onto support. He also picks up a yellow card, which is not ideal, but despite the fact that our XG was a lot higher than Middlesbrough, unfortunately, we suffer a 3-2 defeat in the end. That own goal from Macaulay Gillespie does prove the difference maker. We actually showed some pretty good heart in that game to come back from 2 goals down twice, but unfortunately, that own goal does prove the difference maker. Both teams with the same amount of shots on target. Unfortunately, Connor Hazard did not have the greatest game in goal, albeit can't blame him too much for that first one, which came through Gillespie. But unfortunately, our rotation team cannot pick up a win. It's our first defeat of the season. We've lost without Ben Waine, and we are out of the Carabao Cup in the third round off the back of a 3-2 defeat to top of the Championship Middlesbrough. So unfortunately, it's our first defeat of the season, albeit thankfully it does come in a competition like the Carabao Cup, which truth be told we don't care too much about. We got the fun in yesterday's episode of getting past Chelsea. I think that's going to be our highlight for the season in terms of opposition that we do knock off unless we can do something bigger in the FA Cup. And of course, that competition is definitely a lot more rewarding financially than the Carabao Cup. But unfortunately, it's our first defeat of the season, albeit with a heavily rotated team. The stats from that game do suggest if we put our first choice 11, we are not without a chance of beating that Middlesbrough team who so far have not lost the game this season. So maybe we do have a chance potentially of going up from the championship come the end of the season, albeit still a long way to go. And while we are here, before we end today's episode, we'll just check in on that injury to Joe Edwards. And unfortunately, that might make things interesting at right back for the next little bit. He is out with a pulled calf muscle for 2 to 4 weeks. We'll leave that one to the physio. That'll take it down to 2 to 3 weeks. But unfortunately, one more player on the injury bed. That does mean that Saxon Early probably comes onto the bench now, but not too sure who our right back cover will be for the next little while. That might be a bit of an issue. Hopefully Kesler Hayden, who's been great for us so far in the save, does not pick up an injury. Otherwise, we will be in deep trouble at right back. And also, before we do finish off today's episode, a quick check-in on how Ben Waine is getting on with the New Zealand under-23s. And there you can see they've played 3 games so far in that Olympic qualifying group, and in 3 games he has scored 3 goals, 2 against the Solomon Islands and 1 against American Samoa. Xander Edwards also doing a decent job there. Maybe that's a player that we should scout, albeit he's a striker, so maybe that's not the best idea, considering we already have a pretty good backup here in Ryan Hardy. Did a good job in that previous game there against Middlesbrough, even though we did suffer a 3-2 defeat, but that does mean that New Zealand will go through out of that group, so he's probably going to be away for a little bit longer than anticipated initially, albeit you would expect New Zealand to be winning this Olympic qualifying out of Oceania, so maybe we'll be without the Waine Train for a little bit longer, but thankfully he is still being in the goals, even though it isn't for us here at Plymouth Argyle. But that will do it for today's episode. A good win over Norwich in the championship, backed up with our first loss of the season against Middlesbrough in the Carabao Cup, but with a pretty heavily rotated team. If you enjoyed today's episode, even without Ben Waine, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. Now, tomorrow's episode probably depends on when the Waine Train comes back, honestly, but looking at our upcoming schedule, there is 1 game coming up in only about a week or so's time that does look quite big prior to an international break, so I'm not too sure if we'll have the Waine Train back for this one. But Swansea in second on the championship table, that is quite a big game, so that's one that we might come back for. And off the back of that, I think West Brom as well is the other big game that we do have coming up in the month of October. Also, Ipswich Town actually doing a decent job, but Swansea and West Brom, they are back-to-back games, so I think that's what we'll come back for in tomorrow's episode. But we'll see how the Waine Train is going off the back of a busy period with the New Zealand under-23s in that Olympic qualifying campaign. But that Swansea game could be quite a big one. It could see us jump up into an automatic promotion spot, so I think we'll come back for that and that West Brom game in tomorrow's episode. So until then, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.